Early on, being very cautious with the passing, setting up the play behind their net, waiting on things to appear for them. That's not what we're used to seeing out of these guys. We're used to see them just kind of, just go hard at it and, might see a few errant passes here and there, but for the most part, they're going to play their game. Was that something y'all discussed going into this game, or is that just something they started doing out there at the start of the game?
It's a little bit of both. We talked about it after last week because coming out really hard and making bad passes every once in a while actually cost us the game against Michigan State, in our own opinion, because if you make bad passes against good counter teams, they're going to score. That's just the simple part of it. And they really wanted to come out and actually set the tempo for ourselves instead of coming out and letting the other team have a chance at the beginning.
We saw Chris Roberts get the attention of the officials early.
Yeah.
And he kept their attention throughout the rest of the game.
Unfortunately.
But we also noticed that Taylor wasn't dressed for the game. What can you tell us about him?
I don't know how much I'm allowed to disclose, but he has symptoms, and that's what we're going to leave it at.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't even realize he wasn't on the bench until Craig had pointed it out to me. Yosh pitches the shutout today. Didn't see a ton of pucks coming his way, but it looked from the start of this one like he was seeing the ones that came at him very clearly.
Yeah, and it's important for Yosh to see a few shots at the beginning because that's what he relies on. There was a little bit of concern because I don't know if you guys talked about it early on, but we were a little slow coming out of the locker room, and Yosh was a little concerned about getting fully warmed up. So he was, I'm sure, glad to see a few of the shots they did because most of them were from the points, which are easier to see and keep control of.
As usual, Andrew Ball, Cole Saucelli, kind of getting things going for the offense here for these guys. But we saw Rhodes put one in, saw Lattimore get one in. In fact, the only guy on that line who didn't get a goal today was Chris Roberts, and that's because he spent a good 20 minutes in the penalty box. The guys really seem like they came out firing on all cylinders in this game. We know that's important because, as we've kind of discussed, we believe Rowan's going to be the toughest competition they're going to face this weekend. And so to come out and get a win early on against this Temple team, really going to set the momentum for the rest of the weekend for this D1 team.
Absolutely, and we're kind of anxious now to see Rowan and how we can match up against them because I don't know if you noticed, we made some adjustments in the middle of the game to try to better attack Temple. So that way we could – and I think we're getting better about finding the things that the teams are doing and their tendencies so that way we can exploit those tendencies later on in the game, kind of like we did early on against Temple.
All right, well, again, the final in this one, 8-0, Bethel over Temple. Now, JD, you've been looking at me this whole time. You got to look at Steve because apparently he's actually going to start videoing these post-game shows that we do. Just once in a while. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get used to that. That's a whole new thing. I don't know if I like the camera. I might start doing my interviews over here.
Yeah, he can follow you. That's the problem with that, JD.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, well, the B team fell this morning 4-3 in a hard-fought game. The D1 team comes out and gets a win to start their weekend off right. We've got a little less than an hour now before the B team is back in action, right? Yes, we'll be playing over, doing the street hockey thing for that game. I was watching before this game started, and it looks like that puck really flies across that concrete, JD.
Yeah, it's almost like a sheet of ice. And the puck's too light compared to an ice hockey puck to really be effective as it needs to be.
D1 guys lucky. They don't have to play any of their games over there this weekend.
That.
The B guy, actually, some of the B guys looked kind of excited to play on the concrete over there. So
something new, something different.
We'll see what happens. We just got to hope that Potsy doesn't get too into the street style and start dropping the gloves like he's in Chicago. I think if we can do that when they're out there, we'll be all right?
Yeah.
And who do you got to remind me? Who do we take on in the next game?
Next game is against Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. I think that's the one we're actually going to try to video. If Craig's got everything working right, he's running around somewhere, which is why I did the play-by-play for this D1 game, which I'm okay with because I prefer doing the play-by-play. All right, That's going to do it for this one. JD, as always, we appreciate you coming over and wrapping things up with us. It'll be up to you. You decide which game this weekend you're going to make John come over and talk to us.
I'll try to make him come over on one game each day. Probably the last game of the day. I'll try to trick him into coming over here. Because that's
about what we have to do. Yes, that's about what we have to do is not give him an opportunity to escape. All right, again, JD, we appreciate it. For Craig Jolly running around here trying to get this video stuff done, for Mr. Steve Ball over there on the video camera. Thank you as always, Steve. You know, I didn't hear from the ladies at all that game.